Hey, hi, welcome to Share Your Scars. Hey, Kaitlin.
Hi.
This is Share Your Scars talk show. I am Vicki, and this is Kaitlin.
Hi, I'm Kaitlin.
We got that covered. I'm Vicki. This is Kaitlin. Kaitlin and Vicki. This is Share Your Scars talk show, and this is a series that we're doing interviews and personal stories with our crew members. And Kevin was the first. Now we have Kaitlin, and you're also going to hear from myself, Elena, and Linda. It's going to be a 5-part series, so keep a lookout for that. So, I'm going to get the same questions. Feel like we are on a game show.
I'm not very good at those.
No?
No.
This is the
I
game
can try.
show of life.
I'm going to answer these questions as best I can, try and win myself some points.
Okay. My name is Chuck. Chuck Woolery? Okay, way back. Okay. So, we all have a story, and we're big on showing our scars and sharing our story. And I've known Kaitlin a little bit, and I don't want to dominate because I can. You know, I talk a lot. So, Kaitlin, when did you begin harming? How old were you?
I was 15 when I began harming. I can't quite remember exactly when it was. I was either a freshman or a sophomore in high school.
Okay. So, did you learn it from anyone? Did you see it, hear it? How did it start?
I can't remember exactly how I started doing it, but I do remember I had heard about self-injury from other girls around my age in the school, but for them it was more like, oh, did you hear this person like cuts herself, and like, you know, kind of like very like petty stuff, as well as I feel like just what that was for attention. And when I heard about that, I was like, well, does it help, you know? And I one day ended up trying it. I was like, oh, I feel better now. And it kind of it continued and stemmed from there. But for me, it was a serious issue. It wasn't for attention like we talked about in the first episode. It was
Right.
It was something that was my way of coping with everything that I had going on.
Way of coping. You know, we talk about that a lot in our support group and on the show, is that a way to cope. Not a healthy way of coping, but you know, when you're 10, 11, 12, 15, you started, you know, it's like, do we even know what we're coping? I can't really remember that far back, but, you know, what made you realize that you had a problem? When did it become problematic?
For me, I realized I had a problem when not only was I going I was harming multiple times a day. That, I guess, occurred to me less as having a problem. It wasn't until, actually I remember exactly when I realized it. I was going into a museum on a field trip with school when I was about a senior, and I could not leave my house without, you know, the tools that I needed. And we had to go through a metal detector, and I started freaking out, and my friends are like, what's wrong? I'm like, nothing, don't worry about it. And I think ran to a bathroom because I had to throw out what I had.
Right.
And after I had thrown it away, I had a massive panic attack, and my friends were trying to calm me down, and I couldn't even tell them like why I was panicking. And then after that, I realized, I'm like, that's really unhealthy. But
And how old were you at that time?
I think I was 17 when that happened, but then I did continue harming, unfortunately, for another couple years, because now I'm 23 and I've only been harm-free for 2 years.
Okay.
So
So those of you that are watching, you know, you might be listening to Kaitlin's story, and so 15 starting, and then 17 kind of realizing this is a problem. 18 is when you kind of started to do something about it. That's maturity, in my opinion. It's like, because sometimes, you know, at that age I'm talking about, you know, when you're, not to say you're mature, but you know what I mean? Like when you're 17, 18, that's still like you're trying to figure things out.
I always, you've definitely heard me talk about this before. I've always said in my brain there's what I call logical Kaitlin and evil Kaitlin. Swear I'm not crazy. It's a promise, but there was always like this evil voice in my head telling me like, you need to harm, you need to do it. It encouraged me to do all these other bad coping mechanisms. And then there was always a logical side of my brain that was like, well, you really shouldn't be doing this and here's why. But then that other side of me, which I guess like now I realize is like my depression and my anxiety and my borderline talking, saying that was just yelling over that logical side of my brain. So
totally makes sense. What support do you have? What support did you get or have to get where you said, I need to get some help and I'm going to go?
I had been in and out of a couple hospitals after I had left college and I was 18, but I didn't really take anything seriously until something happened with my brother, where my family at that point had known that I had been harming, and they did not know that I was still harming. I kept that part very secret, and my brother one day did find my tools, and he flushed them down the toilet, and he had a mental breakdown in the middle of my living room about it, and he was hysterically crying, and like, if those of you out there, anyone knows me and you know my brother, you know that is just not a thing to ever happen. This is the only time I think I've ever seen my brother cry, and he had a full-on breakdown, and that was when I realized that I had to stop. I had relapses since then. I think I was also 18 when that happened. But that was the moment that I was like, I cannot do this anymore for like the sake of my brother. But then I am very fortunate. I have a great support system. I mean, Launching Point, you guys are my family. Like, I love you guys so much. So, I also am very lucky. My brother is one of my best friends in the entire world. My mom has always been supportive, as well as I have a lot of really, really amazing friends who I can go to for anything. So, I didn't see any of that before.
Yeah, and what Kaitlin just said is so key. We don't always see it. You know, we can kind of have blinders on. I mean, I have no peripheral vision. Like, I can't see that happening. But literally, you know, we can have blinders on where we don't see and be like, wow, did I always have this here? And, you know, you're right. Launching Point does provide a lot of support. It's not all one person. We're a group where, you know, when you first came to the support group, I think at that time we had 12 or 16 people.
I was so scared.
Yeah, it's a little intimidating. First time's always challenging, but we encourage you to come out. As we start to wrap up, what is something that you would say either to someone out there who's like, hey, you know what, I don't know if I can get out of this, or, you know, a family member or a loved one comes to you and tells you that they're harming, what would you say to them?
I would say that in my mind, I really thought that I was never going to stop, and that this was something that I was going to be subjected to forever. Not that I still don't have thoughts or anything, but like, I always thought that this was going to be a constant battle in my life, and then one day it wasn't anymore. So it really does get better. Like, if you find a support network and you open up to the people who care about you, or if you're not sure, you're comfortable turning to your friends right away, going to a counselor and opening up about it. Like, there are people out there who will help you. And as I discovered with Launching Point, I am not alone in this. That was my biggest thing. I'm like, well, I'm all alone. There's no one else who really gets this. And when I got recommended to this group, I realized, oh my gosh, there's a room full of 12 other people here right now, just in North Jersey, who are just like me. And it really was a big eye-opener. So no matter what you think, no matter what you're going through, I promise you are not alone. And you can always turn to one of us. I mean, I've given out my personal phone number more times than I can count, volunteering, just so that way, to people who felt they weren't comfortable talking to people that they knew, I'm like, call me. I'm available. I have my phone on me all times.
Absolutely. And, you know, now everyone has their own email. And go to launchingpoint.org and you will see Kaitlin's contact information and all of our information there. And the reason we do that is everybody is different. And some people might want to talk to someone a little bit older or younger. or a guy. We have that too. We have all different ages here, and it really does help. Some people connect with people differently than others, and that's how it should be. You know, you don't want just one person doing everything. So, anything else you want to say? Any last things in your mind that you want to share?
It gets better.
Yeah,
I think that's about it. It does get better.
It definitely does get better, and it's gotten better for Kaitlin. Kaitlin started coming around. We figured this out. We sat around one day. Of course, I'm drawing a blank. But she came one time in July of 2014, and then officially started coming around January 2015, give or take. Anyway,
don't remember anymore.
It's been about 4 years of happiness, but hills and valleys all along the way. Kaitlin now helps out for the last 3 years at festivals and helping out at different functions, and that's part of it. You know, it's giving back and helping and being part of that puzzle. And the more you do, the less focus is off of yourself. So definitely get involved. Thank you. And appreciate you watching. And go to shareyourscars.com and go to our YouTube channel and subscribe. And also go to launchingpoint.org for what we have to offer. And thank you for watching. And thanks, Kaitlin, for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Until next time, stay strong. And you matter.